Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. R. Kelly asked President Trump for a pardon to open the doors, but who will give R. Kelly back the years that he's lost? That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to get deep within the psychological effect of how R. Kelly is coping under this type of circumstance. I served 26 years in federal prison. If you don't know who I am, my name is Unique Mecca Audio, and I've been through it. So I'm qualified to let you know. Let's take a ride into R. Kelly.
Disgraced R&B singer R. Kelly asks President Donald Trump to commute his sex abuse convictions, not for a full pardon, though. His request shows a pending status on the Office of the Pardon Attorney's website. Kelly was sentenced, you may remember, to 30 years in prison for various sex crimes. In 2022, he was convicted here in Chicago. That was on child pornography charges, and then convicted of sex trafficking and racketeering in New York in 2021. He's now serving his prison sentence in North Carolina. If his sentence is not commuted, Kelly is expected to be released in 2045 when he's nearly 79 years old.
Now, all right, let's ride. I feel like riding. Y'all want to ride? Now, check, right? When the cell gets quiet, time starts talking. Imagine sitting on your bunk, trying to remember what your child's voice sounded like before prison changed it all. Imagine crossing your eyes, trying to rebuild a birthday you missed 10 years ago. Who was standing near the cake? Who took the picture? Who asked where you were? And the darkest part is you can't remember everything anymore. That's when the panic enters, because now prison ain't only taking your future, it's starting to erase your past. Kelly can ask a president for pardon, clemency, whatever you want to call it, to shorten what's left of his time. But who does he ask for the years he already swallowed? Who returns the phone calls, the funerals, the birthdays, the children growing older while he reminded and remained in the same room? See, I know what that cell door feels like. I did 26 years in federal prison, and when the lights go out, your body may stop moving, but your mind starts running through every door you can't open. Now, I'm gonna give you the jewel in that, right? A president might change the release date, but nobody could sign an executive order over yesterday. The court controls the sentence. Time controls the damage report to class. What memory would you be afraid of losing first if you was in this situation? Now, let's get into the mind starts searching old rooms deep within your mind. At night, about 2 o'clock in the morning, when it get quiet and you can hear a mouse pissing on cotton, and you can hear men crying in the cells like baby, and you're trying to figure out, who is that crying? I'm talking about that time of night. At night, you start walking through your old life in your mind without even leaving your bunk. You see the studio you was in, the stage, the house, the cars, the crowd. You hear people screaming your name. Then somebody's keys hit the range and the whole dream collapses. That's cold. I was there, I was home. This is what R. Kelly is thinking. I can't tell you what he's thinking, but I can tell you what I would be thinking if I was him. So let's get that right, because you know we got these rat bastards and flip-flop wearing in public trolls that look for anything to complain about. Now I know that's cold, right? Because memory would let you visit, but it won't let you stay. You can't control staying. For 2 seconds, you're back in the world. Now let's take a ride. I'm gonna take a ride. This is early, so I'm gonna take a good ride. We only have 5 minutes, right? We're gonna ride. I used to have these dreams about my brother when I was in the cell, and they felt so real that I was scared to open my eyes. I felt like I was free. You couldn't tell me I wasn't free. But I'm telling you, once my eyes opened and those 4 walls hit me again, it's like a punch to the gut where I curled up and grabbed my pillow like a baby. And this is what we're trying to prevent the youngins from having to go through. I even learned to master those dreams where I hear noise coming and I could open my eyes and close them back and go back into the dream. I guess I was transforming. So that was my blessing to help keep me sane while I was moving. Now, you're back in this world, right? Then your eyes open and the toilet is still beside you. Your bed is still beside you. The wall is still 6 feet away. The steel door is still decided when you could move. And every night you keep renting the same memories because they haunt you from a life you used to own. But now you're in a whole new world. And remember, when you see the bell, that's the jewel. Rewind it back and make sure you answer the question. Now, the cell doesn't have to chase you. It lets your memories bring you back willingly. Freedom becomes a movie, and you become the man watching himself disappear from the very script. Now, let me hear your verdict on this in the comment, right? Is remembering freedom a gift or another form of punishment? Put that in the comments. Now, right, let's ride. I feel like ride. Prison makes time feel sick, right? Out here, 1 year can move fast. Inside, one afternoon could feel like a week. You look at the clock, 10 minutes pass. You look again, 3 minutes pass. That's when time start playing tricks on you. The days crawl, but the years vanish. That's the setup. The morning moves slow, but suddenly your child is growing. Your mother getting older. Your friends got gray. Your neighborhood changed. And you're still trying to remember what? Yeah, something happened. And you're stuck in your thoughts. Was that before the trial? After the appeal? Before somebody died? Before your child stopped visiting? That's how prison scrambles your calendar within your mind. Events don't live by dates alone. They live by pain. Now, let me give you the jewel in that, right? In prison, the minutes disrespect you slowly, and the years rob you quickly. You don't always remember the date. You remember what broke inside you that day, that's for sure. Drop a jewel for the young people if you're trying to help them grow. What is one reckless moment worth if it can cost 20 years in prison? Now, this message is so powerful, I'm gonna let you know what time it is, right? I got this little $100,000 joint, so you know I'm already qualified, but that don't mean nothing. Now they want you to put a comment, a like, a emoji, hit the hype button in order to get this message out, because I know you're trying to save the fellow youngins, and that's the only way it can make it happen. And don't forget, right? You can't forget. Cop the book of Roaring Harlem at roaringharlem.com. roaringharlem.com. Let's keep it moving. All right. Now, the first curiosity reset, right? What happens when the memories fade? That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what happened when RKelly's memories fade, from my experience, right? But here's the question. Nobody outside the wall can ask. What happens when the memory you've been surviving on starts fading? What happens when you can't remember the layout of your own house? What happens when your child tells you a story and you don't remember being there? What happens when somebody mentions a family member and for one painful second, you can't picture their face clearly? That's terror, because memories become prison currency. You spend them at night to buy a few minutes away from the cell. That's called escape in some worlds. But every time you replay them, they lose a little detail. The voice gets weaker, the face gets blurrier, the room gets smaller. And now you ain't only afraid of dying in prison, you're afraid of the old man that you're becoming might die inside your head first. Now, we're gonna get to the jewel, right? When freedom becomes a memory, forgetting feelings like losing freedom twice. The first loss is the door closing. The second loss is no longer remembering what stood behind it. Bring this one to the classroom and let me hear your opinion in this in the comments, right? Can a man survive if the memories keeping him alive begin to disappear? Now, I like riding into the mind, right? I like riding into the psychological mindset because I know y'all can't even fathom what it's like to sit in a cell for a decade, 3 decades. The mind becomes the prosecutor. You want to know how the mind becomes a prosecutor? Them 2 o'clock in the morning arrivals, the unit is quieter, the television is lower, the talking slows down. Now the mind opens court. And you're the defendant. Why didn't you stop? Why didn't you listen? Why did you think talent could protect bad decisions? Why did you believe the crowd would still be standing there when the judge finished speaking? Why did you confuse access with immunity? Why did you treat tomorrow like it owned you or owed you another chance? There ain't no lawyer in the courtroom, right? Not the one in your mind. There's no publicist, there's no manager, there's no entourage, just you laying in that bunk, examining yourself with nowhere to object to. Now, I like the jewel, right? I love to get the jewel. The judge may sentence a man once, but can hold resentencing hearings every night. The courtroom closes, the mind starts its session. Let the front row answer. What question, right? What question becomes unbearable when you can no longer run from yourself? Right? Now, let's ride into the applause. Because we like riding in the wind, right? This man once controlled the room. The music started when he said start. People move when he said move. Now somebody else controls when his doors open, when he eats, when he showers, when he uses the phone, when he has to stand up for count. I hated those count times. You sleep, you reading a book, you gotta get up out the bed. You sleep, you in your dreams, you done escaped, you gotta get up out your bed to stand up for count. That ain't only a loss of freedom, that's an attack on your identity. You question if you a man, because who are you when the crowd disappears? Who are you when the name that once opened doors cannot open the door in front of you? Who are you when money can hire lawyers but cannot buy back Tuesday afternoon? Fame makes people feel powerful. Prison introduces them. But to the difference between attention and control. Now, let me give you the jewel in that, right? The streets measure power by who answers your cell. I ain't talking about your cell phone. I'm talking about your cell. When you calling from your cell asking for help. Prison measures power by who controls your door. Never confuse being celebrated with being untouchable. Report to the professor. That's what they call me, the hood professor, right? So report and put your comments in the box, right? What kind of power disappears the moment handcuffs closes around your wrist? And you know how cold that feel, no matter what the temperature is outside? Now, right, let's ride, right? Because I like to ride. The phone call that proves life kept moving. This is how you realize that life keep moving, right? Then the phone connects. A child answers, but the voice sounds different. Not just older, further away. You begin searching inside the voice for the child you remember, but that child may not exist anymore. Life has been raising them without you while you were learning prison routines. They had problems you don't know about. They cried on nights you couldn't reach them. They made decisions without your guidance. They learned how to survive without expecting you to arrive. Then the recording says you have 60 seconds remaining. Now you're trying to squeeze years of fatherhood into 1 minute. The call disconnects. They return to their life. You return to your bunker. Now, if that's the life you want, keep going. If not, listen to the jewel. Prison turns fatherhood into prepaid minutes. And while the father counts seconds, the child keeps counting birthdays. Bring this verdict with you honestly and put this in the comment. Can love repair a childhood it was absent from? Now, we riding, right? The second curiosity reset, right? Now, what if they don't need you anymore? That's what you start thinking. What if the people out there don't need me no more? But here's the deeper fear. What if the family still loves you, but no longer needs you? What if they learn how to celebrate without your cheer? What if your child built a whole life without asking for your advice? What if someone else became the person they called on first? That's the hidden punishment. You want your family to be strong, but their strength can only prove they learn how to live around your absence. They stopped waiting. They adjusted. They created new routines. And now you're staring at photographs, trying to find your place in a family picture you was never in. That's how those decades slide by. Now, the jewel in that, right? The empty chair hurts, but learning the family no longer sets the table for you can hurt even deeper. Absence begins as pain. After enough years, it becomes a system. Let me hear your verdict on this. Is being forgotten worse than being hated? Now, let's ride it to the funeral, right? We're gonna take a ride to the funeral, right? The funeral that never ends. Now, then the call comes. Somebody died. For a moment, the whole prison disappears. You don't hear the television, you don't hear the men talking, you don't hear the officer, you don't hear the keys, you don't hear the doors slamming, you don't hear nothing. You only hear your name. Then memory starts fighting. What was the last conversation? Did I tell him I love him? Were we angry at each other? Did they know what they meant to me? You start reconstructing the last year you saw this person that you just found out was deceased. What were they wearing? What did they say? Did they hug you? Did they rush away? And when the details won't come back, grief turns into panic because you can't remember nothing about them because you've been gone so long. Now, because death doesn't grant appeals, and prison doesn't stop count because your heart collapsed, you will be counted dead or alive. If that's what you want, keep screwing up. Now, a funeral missed in prison never ends properly. There is no final look, no last touch, no goodbye, just a man speaking to the dead from a bunk, hoping they heard what he never got to say. Let the back row speak. answer this question. Can you make peace with a goodbye you were never allowed to give? Now, people don't always leave at once. That's where we riding right now. At first, everybody says, we got you. Then the visits slow down. The letters get slower. The money arrives late. Then stops. Phone numbers change. Somebody says, yo, I was busy. Then busy becomes no answer. No answer becomes a disconnected number, and inside prison, silence is loud. It sounds like people rebuilding their lives without placing you in the blueprint. Some people were disloyal. Some people were exhausted. Some people were hurt. Some people finally chose peace over carrying another person's consequence. In other words, they leave you to do your time by yourself. Now, time doesn't only test loyalty. It reveals the difference between love and unlimited access to somebody else's life. You cannot demand that people serve your sentence beside you. Give the class a minute, right? I'm gonna give you all a minute. Put your verdict in the comment on this. When somebody stops waiting, is that betrayal or survival? Now, we're gonna ride into the third curiosity reset, right? What if the door opens and they release RKelly? What if President Trump do decide to, commute RKelly's sentence? Now, let's say the sentence get reduced. The gate opens, the cameras, they gathered around the gate. People celebrating. But what if the man walking out is still mentally standing for count? What if keys jingling and his stomach drops? What if a bedroom feels too quiet? What if he wakes up waiting for the officer's flashlight to shine in his face because he feels it's count time? What if he eats too fast because prison trained his body to finish before somebody says move? So that means he sits in prison, he eats his meal within the allotted time they give you to eat the meal, usually about 10 minutes. And then the police expect you to get out so they can clear out the mess hall and bring another batch in. What if he sits with his back to the wall when he's in his own living room? What if too many choices make him freeze? What if the refrigerator's full, but his mind is still thinking about protecting a tray? That's when people discover release and freedom. It ain't always the same thing. You agree with that or not? Now, the gate can release the body in one moment, but the nervous system can keep serving time for years with you. A man can leave the institution while the institution remains inside his reflexes. Bring your answer forward and put it in the comments, right? How free is a man when prison still controls his reactions? I'm gonna take you on a quick ride. We only at 20-something minutes? I'll take you on a ride. I'm walking down the street the other way down Fordham Road. The next thing I know, I'm reaching over and my back is against the wall and, my heart is beating, anxiety kicked in, because I heard these keys. And I looked down, it was a little baby jingling his mother's keys, and my heart skipped. I'm thinking that somebody's getting stabbed. Because I'm so used to hearing keys jingling, know to get out the way, that's danger. And I've been home 6 years. 6 years. And this is still affecting me to hear someone jingling keys that I can't see while they're jingling. Figure that out. Now, who give those lost years back? Let's write about that. Who returned the birthdays? Who returns the child at the age they still needed you? Who gives your mother the younger version of herself? Who brings back the friend who died? Who restores the business that never got built? Who returns the album they never got to record? Who restores the family trust that never learned how to survive without you? Now, who turns the vision on you, right? That still believed there was plenty of time. Nobody. That's the cold mathematics of prison. The court count years. The prison counts everything that happened during those years without you being there as a man to participate. Now, right? The jewel in that. The most expensive thing prison takes ain't money. It takes moments that cannot be replaced or recreated with people who may no longer even exist. At ages they still will never be again. The streets sell excitement by the second. Prison collects payment by the decade. Drop your jewel in the comments, right? Can money replace one afternoon with somebody who is gone forever? Now, we're going to ride into this while I ask you this, right? Asking another man for your tomorrow is what RKelly's doing. RKelly's reaching out for his sentence to be commuted. So he's asking another man for his tomorrow back. Now, look at the humiliation in this, right? Inside a pardon request, a man who once had money, power, access, security, influence, now has to ask another man to reduce his punishment. Not permission to perform, not permission to make money, permission to remain and regain the moment. That should frighten every young person watching this right now. Because every reckless decision quietly transfers control of your future into somebody else's hands. Now, a judge, a jury, prison officials, an appellate court, a president. Yesterday, you said nobody could tell you nothing. Today, you're waiting for somebody else to decide when you could walk outside. That's the crazy part. Let's get to the jewel in this. Real power is protecting your freedom while the key is still in your own pocket. Once another man controls your movement, swagger becomes paperwork. But this, where the youth can see it at. Now, is it power if one decision can make you beg another man for your movement? Now, accountability doesn't disappear. RKelly has to take accountability, right? Now understand me clearly. Explaining prison suffering does not erase the people that he was harmed. His pain does not cancel anybody else's pain. His lost years do not return what others lost. We can discuss humanity without hiding responsibility. We can explain consequences without turning accountability into cruelty. The man may suffer. The victims may suffer. The children may suffer. The families may suffer. One person's conduct can create a whole cycle of prisoners without placing everybody behind the door. That is why redemption cannot begin with excuses. It begins when responsibility stops searching for another person to blame. Mercy may shorten punishment, right? Should RKelly get mercy? Put it in the comments. Should RKelly get mercy? Mercy may shorten punishment, It cannot shorten the truth. Compassion sees the human being. Accountability sees the damage. Maturity has enough visions to see both. Bring balance into the room and put your comments in. Can we recognize a prisoner's humanity without minimizing the harm that he inflicted? Now, let me give you my unique Mecca Audio verdict. We got to ride into that. RKelly can ask a president to shorten tomorrow, but nobody can return yesterday. Nobody gives the children back at the age they needed their father. Nobody reopens the funeral. Nobody restores the last conversation. Nobody returns the people who stopped waiting. Nobody rebuilds the memories that faded inside those cold cells. Nobody gives a man back the version of himself that existed before the judge spoke. Life in prison. That's how I felt. That is the real story. Not celebrity, not headlines, not politics. Time. Time lost, time remembered, time forgot. Time begged for time that never answers. A president may open a door, but no president can open yesterday. There is no pardon office for a missed childhood. No executive order for a mother who died waiting. No court motion that restores broken trust. No signature that clears the nightmares from the nervous system. No appeal that forces faded memories to return. The streets sell you a moment. The courtroom names the price. Prison collects the payment. And then time keeps the receipt. Protect your freedom while freedom still belongs to you. Now, let me ask you these questions, right? Make sure y'all go in the comment. We're gonna ride into these questions. Let's go. If RKelly walked out tomorrow, will he really be free? Put that in the comments. If RKelly walked out tomorrow, will he really be free? Now, his body could be released while his mind, relationships, reputation, and prison habits continue serving the sentence. What hurts more, the locked door or the forgotten memories? The locked door controls where you go. Fading memories can make you feel like the old life is disappearing completely. Can a father reclaim the years his children grew up without him? The relationship may be rebuilt, but childhood only happens once. Those exact years cannot be replayed. Now, is being forgotten worse than being hated? Hate still carries an emotional connection. Being forgotten can feel like your place in somebody's life no longer exists. If they hate you, they still care about you. They still have an emotional attachment to you. If they forgot about you, that means you don't exist. Now, right, next. When family stops visiting, is that betrayal or self-preservation? When the family stops visiting a prisoner, is that betrayal or is that self-preservation? Put that in the comments. Sometimes it's disloyalty. Sometimes people become emotionally exhausted, carrying consequences they did not create. Because you broke the law, that's why your dumb ass in jail. Right? Let's ride. Does fame make the fall into prison more bearable? You think because RKelly is famous, he had a better time in prison? The greater the luxury, control, and applause, the harder the contrast may feel when every movement requires permission. Can the mind keep sentencing somebody after the court sentence already ended? Yes, regret, grief, institutional habits, lost relationships, and trauma can continue long after your release, just like I just shared about the child shaking the keys around me. What is the most expensive thing prison takes? Put that in the comment. What do you think is the most expensive thing that prison takes? Time. Because once time disappears, children grow, people die, relationships change, and opportunities expire. Now, can somebody receive mercy and still be held accountable? Yes, mercy recognizes humanity. Accountability recognizes harm. One does not have to erase the other. Now, let me get a final little joint here, Ron. What should a young person learn from RKelly's fall? Put that in the comments. What should a young person learn from RKelly's fall? Talent may create success, but discipline, character, and accountability are what protect you. Without character, your greatest gift can become the platform you fall from. Now, my final question to the class before I go, Rob. A president might reduce the years remaining, but who gives back the years already buried back? I want to thank y'all for reporting to class. Hope I see y'all again. Now, I want to show you why I do what I do. All right, now.
I just want to give a shout out to Unique Mecca Audio. He is so dope. I had the experience of actually meeting him in person. I've been a fan for 2 years, watching his story and watching his videos on YouTube. He is the bomb.com. Harlem, legendary, Kingpin, real, official. As soon as I sat down by him, I knew like it was like a different energy, a different vibe. But then once I hear his voice, I'm like, oh my God, is that him? I'm all fanned out. Like, you know, it was such an experience getting the chance to meet him and, you know, being a fan of his YouTube channel and just following him for the last 2 years and knowing his story and seeing his interviews. And I support him 1,000%. And I'm subscribed to his YouTube. You should go and subscribe as well. Amazing, amazing.
Hey, what's going on, man? Murder Mook, Harlem, you know what it is, man. I just want to express how much gratitude I got for Unique. You know what I mean? I was telling him a story, telling him how I felt about, you know, if anything was to go wrong with my career, rap-wise, you know, if, you know, shit be slow and I got so many opportunities to be able to do the wrong shit. When I watch Unique Mecca Audio, I feel it, and I, like, to my soul, and that's keeping me farthest away from doing anything criminal. Anything criminal. He made me think straight, honestly. Made me think straight, because I've been watching him for about a year, like a year now, maybe, and it just took my mind way off of that, way off of that. From a year ago, it got rough. For a year ago,
Yeah.
and from watching this man, I just felt like you saved me. You saved me. And I just want to show my gratitude, and I want to say thank you, man. Unique Mecca Audio, anything you need, brother, from me.
All right.
Anything you need, man.
All right.
Hi. I watch Unique Mecca's YouTube, and it's amazing. Like, his whole story is so nostalgic. It's so like Harlem. It's so like 1980s. It's so 1999. I've been watching his channel for about 2 years, and it's very informative and it's real. You know, you don't really get the real deal from everybody, but with him, you definitely gonna get the whole real story. This is a Harlem legend, kingpin, legendary. I'm so happy to just even meet him and be in his presence. Like, his channel is very informal, and if you subscribe, you're gonna be just like me, a fan.
Alright.
I'm like, oh my God, is that him? I'm all fanned out. Like, you know, it was such an experience getting the chance to meet him and, you know, being a fan of his YouTube channel and just following him for the last 2 years and knowing his story and seeing his interviews. And I support him 1000%. And I'm subscribed to his YouTube. You should go and subscribe as well. Amazing, amazing.
What you got from the channel?
History, how hard it is to be in jail, the right and wrong moves to make when you outside. How one wrong move will cost you a whole lot, to be better, to do better, a lot of stuff. You'll get a lot of stuff from this channel, you know? It's very informal, and, you know, whatever that means to you, you'll definitely take a piece with you. Like, this is a good YouTube channel, honestly.
So who you on, where they can find you?
Okay, I'm Cora. You can find me at Instagram on Why Hate on Her, and yeah.
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime.
Mecca what? Mecca Audio, Mecca what? Mecca Audio, Mecca what? Mecca Audio, Mecca what? Mecca Audio.
Fresh out the can of 26, he back on the strip, getting back in the mix. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this.
Real.
Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops. Mecca Audio.
Mecca what? Mecca Audio, Mecca what? Mecca Audio, Mecca what? Mecca Audio, Mecca what? Mecca Audio. Then we gon' do it like. We gon' do it like. We keep it moving like. We gotta do it like.
Get it live like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was whining. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spend a couple bands on the Dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a roaring uptown. They be horn uptown, Dominican bust downs. Now we on the positive, we got a lot to give. Now he trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend a ear. He started in uptown, he gon' finish dead. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community ours, so we can give back to the.
Cheers.